Great.
Hi, hello. Welcome to Scholars Hub at Home. I'm Joanne Hui, Alumni Engagement Officer at York University. Thank you for joining us for creating opportunities for youth with the Kindergarten to Industry K-I Academy at the Lassonde School of Engineering. As this event is virtual and we are all not gathered in the same space, I recognize that the following land acknowledgement might not be for the territory that you're currently on. If this is the case, please take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory you are on and the current treaty holders. The website native-land.ca is a good resource for this. As a member of the York University community, I recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Takaranto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. Last month, York University announced a contribution from Scotiabank that will provide close to $1 million to support a variety of initiatives at the Lassonde School of Engineering. The funding will support research into global financial crimes and computer security, while also providing support for programs that advance equity, diversity, and inclusion in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields. We would like to get to know our audience a bit better with a quick poll before each lecture. So today's question is, how would you rate your knowledge regarding the topic of today's presentation? A poll should pop up on the screen right now. I'll give everyone a moment to respond. Great. Great. Thank you for participating. It's helpful for us and our speakers to have an idea about who's in our audience and the knowledge each of you have about the topic of discussion for today's event. If you need help with the Zoom webinar, feel free to click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and enter your question. Our team is ready to help you. That same button can also be used to submit questions for our guest speaker to answer during the Q&A period following today's presentation. For those that are watching live on Facebook, feel free to submit any questions or comments through the comment section for the video, and the team will send them my way. Please note that all of your questions and comments are visible to our panelists and the staff working behind the scenes. We ask that you keep your comments relevant and respectful. For today's talk, we will be featuring Lisa Cole. Lisa is the Director of Programming at the K2I Academy at the Lassonde School of Engineering at York University. Lisa has 20 years of K-12 public education experience, served as the president of the Ontario Association of Physics Teachers, and was involved in the teacher network at the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics, where she contributed to the development of teacher resources. Lisa is a passionate educator with commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. We are so delighted she is able to join us here today. Welcome, Lisa Cole.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. If you can give me a moment here.
Absolutely. I will be back after the presentation for the Q&A, so thank you.
Perfect. Hoping that I shared the right screen. Second. So thank you so much for the great introduction and everyone who's connecting with us today. I want to first start by saying, as I share the work of K2I Academy at the Lassonde School of Engineering today, I would like to first recognize and honor the work of many that brings me here to this place and time. I only see myself as a spokesperson for the great work that many do daily to co-create, co-design, and co-implement programs with us. What I share today is the thinking of many who have graciously and generously shared their time, stories, and expertise with me over the years during my career to date, but also moving forward as we start this work at K2I Academy. We build on ideas from others and we continue the work of others. And I wanted to just kind of, situate this conversation today to say that these are not my ideas all alone, but rather a collective expertise that is built over time. So as we begin, I wanted to sort of set the stage for the Lassonde School of Engineering, and so that everyone kind of knows where we are. So the Lassonde School of Engineering is home to 123 research faculty, 433 graduate students, and 4,536 undergraduate students studying engineering and computer science and earth and atmospheric sciences. We are committed to creating positive change. We are a community of change makers tackling complex problems that the world faces today. We have 11 undergraduate programs and 7 graduate programs, all of which you see here. We also have 7 certificate and study options. We are continuously growing as we focus on interdisciplinary approaches to teaching and learning. And the Lassonde School of Engineering is home to K2I, which is for our conversation today. So just a little bit about K2I in terms of timelines. We're very new. So we actually was created and formed during the COVID pandemic. So it poses some interesting challenges for us. K2I Academy was launched officially on June 2020, shortly after I joined Lassonde. Dean Goodyear and the faculty and staff at Lassonde created the K2I Academy as a response to equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy for the school, and a key action item to move the EDI agenda forward. I find myself actually quite privileged to be able to have an opportunity to work with an amazing team of innovators to design and create this area, to really question and tackle some of the challenging problems in STEM or STEAM education. COVID-19 has posed many challenges in education, but it has also created an opportunity to think critically and become creators of innovative solutions. K2I Academy was no different. We launched during the pandemic and immediately mobilized programs that would support students and families. We expanded the Lassonde Academy to provide incoming students opportunities to enhance their skills and knowledge in math, physics, chemistry, and computational thinking and coding. We pivoted the Helen Carswell STEAM program for women to an online experience and employed high school and undergraduate students for online employment opportunities in the summer. We expanded the program to the Helen Carswell STEAM program for Black and Indigenous students for a paid virtual work experience during the school year, while also earning a high school cooperative education credit in addition to their day school credits at school. We are committed to building networks and relationships to strengthen our ability to create innovative programs that tackle systemic barriers to opportunity. So you could imagine that during a time of uncertainties, we were also navigating those uncertainties to ensure that the programs we built were reaching the communities that could most benefit from connecting with us. K2I is working differently with partners from kindergarten to industry with a shared purpose to dismantle systemic barriers and to build sustainable programs that diversify representation in STEM professions. We work to explore persistent problems by exploring big questions in engineering and technology and society and create opportunities for social justice. We work to build sustainable programs that address systemic barriers to opportunity and access to STEM career pathways. And we do this by strengthening our partnerships inside York University, community organizations, industry collaborators, and the K-12 education sector. We are committed to creating a community of diverse thought leaders and designers ready to collaborate and create innovative solutions with us. So engineering and STEM outreach is not new. There is a national and global effort by many organizations to inspire and support youth in STEM. This work is complex, and no one single organization is going to change it all. We must come together so that numbers like these can change. We continue to struggle to diversify certain STEM fields, such as engineering and computer science. We know that we have fewer teachers qualified in key STEM courses, such as physics and computer science. We also know that very few students elect to take grade 12 physics, and many do not take a computer science course in high school. In fact, some high schools may not have sufficient numbers of students interested to even offer the course in the school. We also know that when students are streamed in Ontario to applied and academic programs and later into college and university courses in grades 11 and 12, this creates additional barriers to opportunity. When we measure success by graduation rates alone, and we begin to count credit completion as a measure of success, we must question ourselves, how is a student achievement of 50% in a non-prerequisite course to future career pathways success for the student? I have only spoken about high school challenges here, but this is the output of the current K-12 education system. The work must start early and continue throughout the K-12 system in order for us to see change. When we think about innovating a solution, we often first find the problems we wish to tackle. We often conceptualize the challenge by using models. Some of you may have seen the use of the leaky pipeline model to describe how we lose students in STEM. The leaky pipeline model creates a mental construct that suggests that students passively fall out of the pipeline with no way to return. It suggests that there is only one route to success with a clear beginning and an end. We know that our system currently pushes certain people out, and I would be bold enough to suggest that we have built a system that has filters and pumps pushing certain people out. The leak is not passive. Another model that describes the learning journey could be a pathway, but pathways are not the same for everyone. Some encounter rocky roads leading to dead ends. Some may have trouble finding the path that works for them. And for those of us who are working in education and in this space, how many roads and pathways must we build so that all students and families have opportunity? When we think about the work we have to do, we must think about the ecosystem in which we all live. I wonder about how we will create the space so that all people can find the role they wish to play in this dynamic ecosystem. Be provided with a choice because they have had an opportunity to discover intentionally, not by chance. We also think about the role each of us and our institutions, organizations, and industries play in the work we do to inspire future innovators and problem solvers. We are part of a very complex system. And as part of this complex system, we must ensure that we are working better together to create the future we are looking for. So I am going to invite you to join me in answering a question on this little Menti that I've created. And the question is, how might we improve STEM STEAM education? So if you go to menti.com and use the code provided, I'm curious to know what the audience might think. Improve teacher education to better incorporate STEM STEAM learning, bring more awareness earlier, providing more opportunities for everyone, more partnerships and collaboration, make it accessible. These are some great ideas that are being shared with us on the Menti. Oops. Thank you so much. So what I wanted to demonstrate with this Menti is that we all have great ideas, right? We have a sense for some of the work that needs to happen, and yet we can't seem to orchestrate this work in a way that actually moves the system. So we do understand that the challenges are complex, and there's a lot of room for creating and innovating. So today, what I'm going to share with you is one way of thinking through this process that K2Y Academy is working on. And it's by no means the only way, right? We are only presenting our version and our role that we wish to play in this complex ecosystem that we're co-building together. So at K2Y Academy, we actually co-create opportunities under 3 main streams of programming work. This keeps us focused. We also have a focus on engineering, education, and STEM education research, which we are building to ensure that all our programs are being evaluated, studied, and documented to contribute to the body of knowledge we rely on for making decisions in education. So the 3 streams are bringing STEM to life in schools, bringing STEM to life work integrated learning, and bringing STEM to life community. So I'm going to go through our 3 streams just so you have a sense for the kind of work we do. But none of this work is possible without ensuring that we build collaborators and partners strategically. So the Carswell Family Foundation has been a contributor, a key contributor to the start of K2Y Academy and the work of the Helen Carswell STEAM programs. We have additional industry partners, KPM Power, Scotiabank recently. Scotiabank was mentioned. We also have community partners and collaborators, STEM Hub, the Bytes Network, Black Esteem, and of course, York University is coming together to do this work together. We also have 3 key GTA school boards. We have the Toronto District School Board, York Region District School Board, Peel District School Board as our starting place. We are committing to work strategically with school boards to design innovative ways that we can work together to create equity-focused programs. We know that community groups are also doing amazing work across this country, and we are also focusing on strengthening our relationship with communities. We are still at the very early stages of our work, and we are continuously evolving. Majority of students, as you know, so our in-school program, are in school for 10 months out of the calendar year. K-12 educators are doing amazing work with our youth every day. In order to innovate programming in schools for STEM, we must work together with educators to leverage each other's knowledge and skills. Working closely with school boards, we will develop programs to start connected to grade 9 and 10 science programs, embedding certain skills like engineering design, as well as computational thinking and coding into those programs. We design programs that are always connected to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we leverage the research that Lassonde does with our research faculty to set some real world examples that students can contribute to. Our work integrated learning program stream is our summer program. It provides a unique experience for students who just completed grade 10. This program offers paid work experience while earning a high school credit. We work strategically with school boards to design and deliver this program. Participants are selected by their school boards, prioritizing communities of need and underrepresented students in STEM. This summer, we hired 90 high school students to participate in 140 hours of paid work and 175 hours of learning. 98% of the high school students obtained their physics credit this summer. In addition to the impact for high school students, K2Y Academy is committed to building skills and and strengthening the professional learning opportunities for our undergraduate students. By joining K2I over the summer, 24 undergraduate STEM students engaged in professional development in the areas of leadership, mentorship, program design, project management, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. 4 high school physics teachers joined us this summer for job-embedded professional development as they engaged with us to design and deliver the physics courses that were integrated into this program. Our Lassonde research faculty created opportunities for high school students, and 9 of them joined us this summer. The programs we are developing at K2I are multifaceted programs that grapple with multiple challenges integrated into the program. So we have this little video which we can share with you so you have a sense for what the program this summer looked like.
This program is a life-changing experience. It is so enriching for your skills, and it just throws you into that experience where you have to step up.
Looking back, we have really messed up our world. But then when you look at a program like this, we've taken a bunch of the SDG goals and we've put them into these small research projects that the students can work on. And so working on this K2I program, it's really shown that these little things that we do actually do make a difference.
I think what excited me the most during this program was having a lot of hands-on experiences, because I was able to take what I learned in my classes and apply it through experiments.
Before this program, I honestly felt very lost. However, this program helped me find a hidden passion that I had for things related to physics and engineering. So I think this program really put me on the right path.
My key takeaway from this program is anyone can learn anything. The age, religion, color of skin, nothing matters. As long as you're willing to learn and you're willing to put in the work, you can do anything.
It really helped me identify what makes an effective teacher, what makes students learn. I would say it's the perfect storm for optimal learning.
That video always makes me really happy to see that. So the third stream of work that we offer is our community work, and it's continuously evolving. We continue to work with community groups and organizations to create programs that will continue to excite and inspire youth, families, and educators. These are typically more event-based programs. For example, we do have one coming up. It's our Go Eng Girl event, and it is open to students in grades 5 to 10, and it is happening on Saturday, October 16th at 1 to 3 p.m. and the registration is currently open. So, you know, our community programs are evolving. We have been offering hackathons. I think there is the UN hackathon is happening through BEST, and that's coming up. And so we collaborate with BEST to create these hackathon events as well. So, you know, just as in closing, I just want to say that the work is continuously evolving, but I'd like to share 4 key things that I think we need to really think about. We do need to know more through data. We must collect data and build longitudinal studies with collaborators to document the kinds of initiatives that actually make the systemic change we're looking for. We also need to be bold enough and brave enough to face the truths we know about systemic inequities and really take action. I would also say it's so important for us to come together as a community and to really collaborate differently to strengthen and build these programs so that they can actually be responsive to the needs of our youth. And lastly, I'd like to say equity work is costly and it is challenging work. We are trying to undo historical and continual inequities that exist in our society. So we must leverage our collective resources, skills, and knowledge to do this work together. So I want to just close by saying thank you for joining us. We are really excited about this work at Lassonde, and we hope that you enjoyed hearing a little bit about us today.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for that very informative and interesting talk. Really appreciate you sharing about the work that you're doing and how you're fostering diversity, and equity, inclusion in STEM education. So thank you so much. We now have time for questions from our audience at this point. So please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. I'll wait a moment to see for the questions to come in. Or maybe I could kick us off first. Lisa, can you tell us why K to I, and what role does industry play in the K to 12 STEM education?
Yeah, so when we think about the term K to I, it means kindergarten to industry, and we're looking at the whole, it kind of implies it's linear, but it wasn't really, I'm not sure how to capture that in a name, but it's really about that ecosystem from the moment a student enters into formal education, but then also pursues a lifelong journey of learning into industry and employment. So the role that industry plays, currently, we are always looking for industry partners to give us insights into what does the workplace today and into the future look like for a young person who wishes to pursue a STEM career. I think sometimes we are not necessarily in conversation with industry to really have a sense for what the future of employment looks like or feels like or needs to be like. And so we make assumptions about what students might need in their schooling before they enter into these professions. So I think that's really important. I think industry has a really important role to play. You mentioned Scotiabank, but there are other industry partners, KPM Power, where they are also really seeing the value of investing in programs that really challenges us to design programs addressing the inequities. And I think there is a way to be really creative about how we partner and design these programs. And so I think the role that industry plays is in any way they wish to, be involved. And I think that's the exciting part of this work.
Awesome, thank you so much. So our next question is, what is the value of developing coding skills early? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think of literacies, right? Like we typically talk about literacies and we talk about language literacies, right? So in Canada, we have two languages officially, right? We have English and we have French, and we learn very early on how to develop these language skills. We also learn about numeracy, right? And the importance of mathematics and the development of numeracy and mathematical skills. And, we tend to in education only, talk about literacies in these two ways, language and math. And I would argue that in today's society and also moving forward, there are other literacies we need to be really cognizant of. We saw during COVID the importance of scientific literacy, right, and numeracy, being able to see information and critically think about that information to make decisions based on science. We also see, that we're bombarded by technology, right? We use technology. I think the other day, Instagram and Facebook came down, and I'm sure we all knew that it was down, right? And you wonder about us as consumers of that technology. How informed are we if we don't know how that technology is built, right? And how it works. So we think about digital literacies, right? It's not enough to just know how to use it, but shouldn't we also be equipping people with an basic understanding of how it's created, so we can be critical about how we use these tools? So I think coding, although, as an engineering school, I would argue coding is important because, if you want to become an engineer or a computer scientist or a scientist, coding skills is a real asset. I would argue that for the general public, understanding how code is created gives you insights into the technological world that we live in. And it's a new literacy, right? That is just as important now. So I think the fact that the Ontario curriculum has coding inside of the math curriculum now is so important, because it gives an opportunity for all of our students to be exposed to that skill, to make informed decisions about who they wish to become. And it's not a secret, right? And I think that's what's important about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Our next question is, how do you choose the schools with which you work? Or is the program open to individuals? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this has been a challenging question. You would think that that's a simple question, but it's actually quite challenging in that, we want to be able to provide these opportunities for everyone. Like, and of course, that's what we would love to do. It pulls on my heartstrings, and it kind of, is quite honestly our big dream. However, at the present time, we are really still in early stages of piloting mode. So we are working very strategically with school boards only. The Toronto District School Board, York Region District School Board, Peel District School Board. And we're doing that intentionally because we still have a lot of learning to do, right? We want to better understand how this work is taken up by schools, by educators, by school boards, and how do we collaborate across very large entities, right? Like even as operationally, right? York University, Lassonde, K2I, we have a big engine of operations, school boards as well. So how do you come together to a common place, a common understanding to be able to navigate this work? So my long-winded answer is, I wish I could say that everyone can just call us up and we would be there for you. But currently we're staying very focused and working very strategically with school boards. And as soon as we have information about many of our community programs, we do send it out through our social channels, through Lassonde, for those opportunities. But we're always open to communications with us via email. So if you have a question, point us through to some resource that might be helpful, because I really want to talk about, I don't know, artificial intelligence in my science class. We're happy to answer some of those questions.
Thank you. So the next question is, do you have any suggestions on how we can attract teachers to teach in STEM, or to support the teachers who are already in STEM?
Yeah, this has also been an ongoing question. We have recently started to work with, we've always been working with the Faculty of Education here at York. We have been designated as an alternative practicum placement. So we currently have two students who are wishing to become elementary school teachers who have joined us for a practicum this year. So we're really excited about expanding and testing out our ability to do that work. The challenge, the question around how do you recruit more STEM teachers, right? Like, for example, if you look at science teachers, we actually have quite a lot of teachers who are qualified to teach general science and biology in particular. We don't have a lot of teachers who are qualified technically to teach physics, right? So it's not the same across all disciplines, right? The shortages, there are very few computer science teachers, for example. So, I think in order to recruit teachers, I think there needs to be early exposure to this kind of work, right? And I think K2Y Academy is starting to do that when we employ undergraduate students into our work, give them a taste for what it's like to work with youth, and see if some of these roles may be a fit for some. We also hire, faculty of ed students who are pursuing a teaching degree to teach, some of these STEM subject areas, and they too get an experience with us that is quite different from maybe their training in the faculty of ed programs. I think the challenge here is that how do you recruit a subset of adults who already have an undergraduate degree in computer science, let's just say, to become a teacher when they can get a job doing computer science somewhere else, right? Why would they consider going back to school to do a Bachelor of Ed degree for another 2 years and join the teaching profession? And I think it's definitely not something I have an answer to, but I'm positioning the situation, and I'm hoping that there would be collaborators wanting to grapple with that question. And I think there's lots of systems at play there, right? Teaching is a licensed profession, right? And there are rules. So we need to think about what are these rules, and why, what space is there inside of these rules that we can innovate around.
Thank you. These are great questions to ponder. The next question was related to the video that you shown. Are the resources that were shown in the video that you shared with us available to the public? Where can they be accessed?
Yeah, we're still consolidating all of the projects that the students completed. There were actually 9 different projects connected to UN Sustainable Development Goals. We are compiling the experience into a resource that teachers can use. We just haven't completed that cycle yet. So once we do have those, we would be very happy to share those resources publicly.
Thanks so much. We just had another question come in from the audience. So how is K2I working to address inequities in STEM education?
Yeah, it's complex, right? I come from the K-12 education space. I was a physics teacher, right? So I taught physics in the classroom for 14 years, and during that time, I would say my students were my teachers, right? They would often, tell me all the things I was doing maybe wrong. And I don't think I quite figured it out fully in the 14 years, but I think back to that time very fondly, and I think about the things that I did during my teaching experience that perpetuated inequities, right? So I'm calling myself out on the things that I did that in retrospect and reflection, I was part of the problem, right? And I think I pull from that a lot in my thinking. I also think I pull from my experience from working with educators. I was a program facilitator for Durham District School Board. And during that time, I would say the teachers were my teachers, right? And they would tell me all the things that they needed and couldn't do because they needed it. And I would try to figure out, how are we going to get you what you need? And so I think that the work that K2Y Academy is trying to do is to really listen to the system and listen to the people that are actually doing this work, and see if there are spaces between the rule books and the guidelines that we can navigate the space between to innovate in. And I think that work is really what needs to happen to address some of the inequities, because the inequities are perpetuated by the system itself, right? Because we say things like, well, it's just always been done that way. So, this is how it is. Well, the question is, why is it that way? And what do we do about it when we know that it is creating an inequity? And so I think I would say that K2Y is constantly questioning, constantly looking for, I don't know, I say collaborators, but I think I was downplaying collaborators. It's more like co-conspirators to navigate these spaces between, to innovate. And so there is no specific roadmap, right? There is no roadmap to this work. It's messy and it's dynamic. It's like that living ecosystem that is constantly evolving.
That's amazing. Thank you. It's quite complex, so I really appreciate you, and I'm sure the audience really appreciates you sharing all of your insights too. We actually have a question about your experience as a teacher. So pulling from that experience, do you have any ideas on how we can work with parents to encourage STEM education? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was always interesting. As a classroom teacher, as a physics teacher, I typically saw a lot of students at the end of their K to 12 education experience, right? So I would say that I grappled with some challenges as a physics educator. That is probably a bit different, right? Because students have already self-identified as someone who's going to take physics, right? It's a different audience. The question here, though, is how do you get students that would never consider physics or some of these courses to consider it? And I think that work of influence on a student is really includes family. It includes parents and guardians. It includes the adults in that child's life, right? And it's not just the teacher alone that's going to be able to support the student to get there. So, I know that schools have been doing, and school boards have been doing lots of parent community nights and programs like that. But if you really think about the structure in which we have usually done that, what kinds of parents and families are able to come to those events, right? You think about what families are left out in that conversation when they are not able to join that conversation because of a particular time of the day, or they didn't hear about it, or there's other priorities in that family's life, right? So I think as a classroom teacher, what you do is you connect with the parents of the students you already have, right? But as a school, you might be able to come up with a strategy to engage with families before students make decisions, right? And then more broadly speaking, as a school board, you might do the same. But I think as we're designing these kinds of programs, we do have to ask ourselves, how do we engage with parents and guardians where they are at, where they are, right? Make it convenient, right? And how do we enable accessibility for that? And I think for us at K2I, we're constantly thinking about how do we engage with parents and guardians, in all the ways in which COVID has been a challenge, moving things virtually. I think the fact that our summer program was virtual, it was situated in their homes. They all got these materials in their house. The parents and guardians of our participants had insight into what it is their children were doing with us in a very unique way, because it was done virtually, which is a surprising outcome for us. And I'm convinced that a virtual version of this program will still continue because of that.
Thank you so much. So we do have time for one final question before we end off. And this is coming from the audience. So how can community organizations participate to help their clients access these opportunities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's an interesting question because there seems to be so many things out there. You know, I'm always on social media, just trying to keep a pulse on all the things that organizations are doing, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to coordinate across so many different entities. But for any community groups who might be listening, please do reach out, right? So if you reach out, we can figure out how we can set up a system where if we have something coming up, that you would be notified and keep connected. I'm not sure if that's not an easy solution to that one either. And we're still building out our networks as well. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for spending your time with us today and sharing your work. We really appreciate your time.
thank you.
So you can now turn off your video. And before we say goodbye to you and our audience, thank you all again for taking the time to join us this afternoon. We have one last poll question for you. So this poll question is, how would you rate your knowledge of today's topic following this discussion? It should pop up on the screen right now. So I'm just going to give it a moment. Rose, can you pop the poll question on the screen? Okay, I guess the poll option is not working and that's fine. So what I do want to share is more information about upcoming Scholars Hub. So we'll be back in 2 weeks on October 20th. So please join us as we partner with our colleagues at Glendon College to feature Gertrude Mianda and her lecture on Francophone African Canadian immigrants in the minoritized Francophone community. Professor Mayanda is a director at the Harriet Tubman Institute and professor at the Glendon Gender Women Studies at Glendon College. And then on October 27th, we will be joined by David Weitzner, assistant professor of management at the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, for his lecture titled Art Venues Hold the Key to an Innovative Society. For more information about these and other events, please visit our website at yorku.ca/alumni and friends. Thank you all and be well.